and final film in the Indiana Jones franchise is finally in theaters, and like everybody else in the world, this series meant so much to me growing up. Dial of Destiny was probably one of the few films that were among the most anticipated for me throughout the entire year, and I'm actually really glad that after a few years of not having a theater for like 100 plus miles, my hometown literally just opened up a brand new theater about a month or two ago, and I was able to see this film properly. How is it? Let's get cracking. Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny follows Dr. Jones as he dons the suit and whip one last time to stop the Nazis from finding Archimedes' dial, because if it falls into the wrong hands, the course of history might be at risk. This was a film that I had to sleep on after watching because I didn't want to immediately jump the gun and say something that I didn't mean. I wanted to give it the time that it deserved to make all appropriate considerations because, to be honest with you, I didn't love it as an Indiana Jones movie, but as a film on its own, it is good. To explain that a little bit further, what I mostly mean is that for the most part, I felt like something was missing when I watched it. A little bit of that Indiana Jones flair, magic, and wonder, that I'm 90% sure is just because Steven Spielberg was no longer at the helm. That's something that even Crystal Skull, in all of its endless problems, did have going for it that this just doesn't. Steven Spielberg. And that's not to say that Dial of Destiny doesn't try to emulate that, because it definitely gets an A for effort in that department, but I guess the absence of Spielberg is a substantial one for me. Then again, Harrison Ford's age might have something to do with that lack of magic as well, but he does kill it in the role, I will say. The plot of this film regarding the dial itself, the Dial of Archimedes, is definitely strong. It takes careful consideration to convince the audience that this thing is real, which, by the way, it is. And it's just rustic and grounded enough to feel more in line with what Indiana Jones is all about. Yeah, I mean, the plot deals a little bit too much with science fiction, very similarly to Crystal Skull, which I don't love for Indiana Jones. I mean, I much prefer magic, paranormal, or even unexplainable miracles for the series than I do just straight up sci-fi. In a way, sci-fi stuff like this and Crystal Skull alike feels too much of a cop-out for the series, and stuff that we have just simply seen too many times before. While the original trilogy dealt with plots that felt very unique and original, things that we've never seen before, period. That being said, without spoiling too much about Dial of Destiny, I will say the approach that this film takes isn't wholly predictable, which is part of why this film actually does kind of work for me. Now, even though the magic of Indiana Jones isn't really there for me, like I said, I do think that it's well made. Lots of great uses of cinematography, of the musical score. Harrison's great, as is Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who constantly plays this intriguing character that plays very well opposite of Harrison. So even though I'd probably prefer to watch the original trilogy for the Indiana Jones name, I do actually think that it's not only better than Crystal Skull, that's not really hard to believe, but I also think that it's better technically than Temple of Doom as well. I know that there's a lot of you out there that love Temple, like there's a cult following. And the more that I watch it, the more I do appreciate, but I have never loved it. In a big way, at least for me, Indiana Jones movies work the best when it's Indy versus Nazis, period. Which is, once again, true here. The magic that you feel while watching these films is only one aspect of my score. I have to consider everything else as well, and to say everything in this movie is trash because I didn't feel the magic is just unfair. Especially to everybody that actually worked on the movie, because guys, they did good. They did great, even. And when you take a look at this film as a final outing for the character, it's good. But as far as finality goes, I mean, they literally rode off into the sunset in Last Crusade, which, what better way is there to end a series? So between those two, it's not really a competition. In general, I had a good time with the movie. I was smiling from ear to ear nostalgia. It's a good time at the movies, and it's definitely something that I recommend you watch if you are a fan of Indiana Jones. You won't love it like the ones that you grew up with, but you also won't hate it. And I think that's actually really important to note. You won't hate it. Crystal Skull was something that was easily hated. And I didn't hate Crystal Skull. I was okay with it. I just think that it was poorly written, and I kind of dread going back to it. But I'll watch it, because at the end of the day, that film does have that Indiana Jones spirit and magic. This definitely tried to ground it more, and in general, it's a good film. It's just not the best indie film out there. So I scored Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny a B+ letter grade, final overall score of 82%. 82 out of 100 possible stars, which is an 8 out of 10 rating overall, or a 4 out of 5, because again, this movie is made well, and I have to give it credit where it's due. But Indiana Jones 1 and 3 both got A's from me, Temple of Doom got a C+, Crystal Skull got a D+, meaning that I definitely rank this as third best, or a better way to put it is right smack dab in the middle. But guys, what are your thoughts on this fifth film in the Indiana Jones franchise? Were you a fan? Were you not? What worked for you? What didn't? Do you agree that it's better than Crystal Skull? And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace!